really shocked because they think they're like a pretty significant amount of Native American, usually Cherokee, and then they take the DNA test and it's nowhere to be found. A lot of Americans claim Cherokee heritage. Are you one of them? It was like passed down in your family with subsequent generations unaware of the original intent of the meaning. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero, and thank you so much for joining me again today on my channel, where we've been digging into questions of American identity and ancestry and hidden history. And today I want to touch on kind of a controversial subject. I mean, I feel like every video is a little controversial on this channel, but it might get a little personal. So have you ever heard whispers of a Cherokee grandmother in your family? It seems like almost every family that has roots back far enough on the eastern side of the Mississippi before the 1800s has a tale of a Cherokee Indian ancestor, at least according to some of the oral history that's being passed down. Let me know if you have that story. Now, has DNA testing either supported or debunked that family lore for you? Or have you experienced disappointment when your ethnicity didn't match what you were told before you took the DNA test? And, I've seen tons of stories where people are really shocked because they think they're like a pretty significant amount of Native American, usually Cherokee, and then they take the DNA test and it's nowhere to be found. So Cherokee grandmas have seemed to find their way into the family trees of countless individuals. How did this history become such a prevalent part of so many of our family histories? Let's dive into the fascinating truth behind the Cherokee Princess. Now, the forced removal of the Cherokee people from their homeland, a lot of us know, is not just the Cherokee, but the Trail of Tears. Thousands of Native Americans were removed and died on the trail due to disease, exhaustion, harsh conditions, and the consequences of this traumatic event have reverberated. Now, herein though lies a potential explanation for the prevalence for the claim of the Cherokee grandmother. So the Trail of Tears scattered these people far and wide, live in all parts of the southeastern United States. And as the years rolled on, stories of Cherokee ancestry began to be passed down through the generations, sometimes becoming diluted or distorted along the way. Now, among the myriad of Native American tribes, the Cherokee hold a prominent place in American history. People only know the names of like a couple of these native nations, and one of them that they know is always Cherokee. Now, the allure of having a Cherokee grandmother has not been confined to everyday individuals like you and me, but celebrities and politicians have found themselves either drawn to this romantic notion or believing that this is part of their family story, which it very well may be. From the likes of Johnny Cash to Cher, Chuck Norris, Angelina Jolie, Johnny Depp, Bill Clinton, Miley Cyrus, all kinds of people have claimed Cherokee ancestry. Now, Elizabeth Warren's case, which a lot of you are probably familiar with, during her 2020 presidential run, brought this topic to the forefront of an American conversation. And a DNA test suggested, I think, that she had either between like 1/32 and 1/1024th Cherokee heritage. At least that's what NPR said. And so while these famous individuals may have ancestral ties, I think it's worth acknowledging that the public identification as Cherokee is one of the things that kind of puts the Cherokee Nation at the forefront of these conversations. There are some misconceptions associated with Cherokee ancestry claims as I've been researching this, because this topic is just so fascinating to me. And I'm sharing this topic not to point fingers, because I do think a lot of people that claim to have Native heritage, they do have it, but it's probably not Cherokee. So one of the problems, though, that comes up for a lot of folks is that we can rely on physical traits, right? Like high cheekbones and dark hair. They're not exclusive to Indigenous people. So that debunks this notion that these characteristics immediately sign off on Cherokee heritage. And people are like, well, look at this picture of my so-and-so. I've seen plenty of pictures of people who are all different kinds of ethnicities, that they weren't Indigenous to the Americas. Secondly, the trend of white Southerners claiming Native American ancestry, in particular Cherokee heritage, emerged during the 19th century, particularly during the 1840s and 1850s. And, the Civil War was looming on the horizon. So by asserting a connection to distant Cherokee lineage, these individuals sought to solidify their identity as these like native-born sons and daughters of the South. I read that as somebody's opinion on this. I thought it was really interesting. Now, furthermore, a century and a half after their expulsion from their ancestral lands, white Southerners had reimagined the Cherokee Indians as valiant fighters against federal tyranny, parallel to the South's own struggles during the Civil War. And the Cherokees' alliance to the Confederacy during the Civil War played a significant role in strengthening this connection. Now, I remember I did a video on this. There was this interesting mix here of, some groups being oppressed because they're indigenous and being removed from their land on one hand, but on the other hand, they had enslaved people. And so a lot of Cherokee were supportive of the Confederacy, but it also helped to hide African ancestry. And that's something that I have encountered a lot, to the point where if someone with African ancestry claims to have Native ancestry, it's like people jump all over them for saying that. And it's like, it's very possible they have Native American ancestry, but the claim of Native American ancestry to hide African ancestry is something that was pretty prevalent. But why the princess part? Cherokee Princess. Well, I read a really interesting write-up from an Indigenous writer on this topic. So I just want to share what I read. And, you can come to your own conclusions on it. So this person said that, one, the term princess may have been a flawed translation for a daughter of a chief. So it's important, though, to note that Cherokee chiefs were not akin to kings. It's not the same thing. They were chosen by the community. There was multiple chiefs. So the daughter of a chief held a position that was more akin to like the daughter of a mayor or the daughter of a governor than that of a princess. So it's likely that the term princess maybe emerged due to a misunderstanding. So they may have mistakenly translated like chief's daughter or like prominent person's daughter to princess. Another point that they made is that in the early 20th century, the term princess gained popularity just in general as like an endearing appellation. Like, it wasn't because somebody had royal lineage, but it was just an expression of love. And so similarly, a lot of Cherokee women were recorded with the name Rose, even though it's not their actual name, because their husbands or fathers affectionately called them like Cherokee Rose. So there's this sense of like, this was just kind of, I think probably like the way a lot of people say like, babe to their significant other. I am not one of those people. Like, I'm not about that. But that's a thing that you hear, like babe, baby. And so I think maybe like princess and rose or maybe kind of along those same lines. So let's go back to the African American part of this. So it's possible that the ancestor who you believe to be of Cherokee descent is actually of African American descent. Read this and I've seen a lot of comments that the like Indian princess in the family actually turned out to be an African American ancestor. And sometimes it was to hide African ancestry, but I've also seen anecdotal evidence that in the South, the terms Indian princess, Cherokee princess were sometimes at that point derogatory terms used in the South to describe light-skinned mixed race women, similar to the term high yellow, which was also a new term to me. So this appellation may be something that was like passed down in your family with subsequent generations unaware of the original intent of the meaning, that it wasn't a literal Indian princess or Cherokee princess, but just a way to describe how somebody looked. All that to say is that you very well may have a Cherokee ancestor or a Native American ancestor in your family tree. And the term princess, doesn't negate that possibility. There's a lot of reasons why this term kind of gets connected to this. And so that's just one part of the story. Embarking on the journey of exploration in your lineage, whether it's Native American or not, is a transformative experience. It's so important. And just because maybe one part of the story wasn't true doesn't mean that what is true is not just equally interesting and equally important. I know taking a DNA test, I've complained about the test on here before, but it could be a great step, but it doesn't always tell the full story. And so I really like to recommend reaching out to family members, writing down family stories, starting to compare that to a paper trail on your family. The most important thing when we're diving into these family stories is to not just take somebody's word for it, but learn how to start doing some of the work yourself. My masterclass, Be a Good Ancestor, which takes you step by step through the process of preserving family stories that would otherwise be lost. So if you're interested in finding out more about that process, it's a 40-page workbook that I created that has 5 videos that go along with it to take you from you have no family stories saved to you now have family stories saved, and there's a repeatable process that you can use over and over again. Let me know if this is something that you heard in your family. Did it turn out to be true? Was it debunked? I'm really curious because this is something I'm actually in the middle of working on right now. So I'll share a little bit more on that later.